What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Welcome to the latest live stream that we are doing on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. And for the first time in a long time, the Blogging the Boys Facebook page. This is a live streamed episode with our Talkin the Draft crew. You can listen to these guys every Wednesday on the Blogging the Boys podcast feed. It is available on all major podcast platforms. That's Apple devices, Spotify, wherever else you want to get your podcast. You can hear the beautiful audio stylings of Connor Livesay, who's to my left. To my right, I don't know exactly how this is oriented. Below him, Cole Patterson, last week's MVP here on our live stream. The week before, Dalton Miller, who's underneath me, only in the stream, not in any other capacity. Don't get it mixed up, anybody. He has won an MVP. Connor, you are the only person who has not walked away with the prestigious hardware that we associate with the Blogging the Boys live streams that we do. How do you feel as we begin tonight's live stream?
Well, you called me Jaylen Smith last week as we closed the show, so I'm doing great. Owner ain't tripping.
Okay, well, that's well said by Jaylen Smith. Again, it is our first time streaming on Facebook. We haven't streamed on Facebook as Blogging the Boys. Dan Rogers, old Blogging the Boys front page writer. I say old. Dan exited just like a month ago. It hasn't been that long. Dan, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We will be doing a full first-round mock draft. We did this 2 weeks ago. Patrick Surtain was the pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Connor will be starting things off with the first overall pick. Cole will go second. Dalton will go third. We'll go on in a circle like that. I am here to offer nothing other than an occasional joke, an occasional limerick, and to represent Manchester United because the Super League is dead. Just so you guys know, we are speaking of the Super League and European powerhouses. Joe Tranchina is watching from Italy. Dalton, do you speak any Italian?
I do not.
Cole, how about you?
Unfortunately, I do not either.
Do you guys like pizza?
Bon appetit.
I like fast cars.
It's bon appetit, Connor.
No, it's bon appetit.
So,
bon appetit.
That was close enough, I suppose. Let's go ahead and take a look at the NFL draft order as things currently stand. Lots of reports, though, circulating in the NFL world, which is why you always want to stay tuned to Blogging the Boys and all of our ensuing properties because we keep you updated. Right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars hold the number one overall pick. I don't think we'll see any changes in the top three before draft day next Thursday. So, Cole, you are up first. Cole, my bad. Cole, you're on my mind because you were MVP last week. That's my bad. Connor, not to totally, kind of poo-poo you or anything. And keep in mind, Jared Odell says the Cowboys need to nail this draft. So get the hammer out, if you will. Who do you have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking with the number one overall pick?
No, a lot of thought went into this pick. I thought about going multiple directions, but it's still going to be Trevor Lawrence, Clemson quarterback. I think that is just absolutely written in Sharpie, doubled over in paint. Like, I don't think that's going to change at all. So I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Pretty certain it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And if you're a betting man, I would put money on it being Trevor Lawrence.
Are you a betting man?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. You are a betting man. It seems we've lost Cole for the time being. I'm sure Cole will make his way back into the stream. That's what happens when you're live. Sometimes people just dip out. Dalton, I don't know if you were involved in pushing him out of the way.
I would never.
Well, I only bring that up because looking at the screen now, you're the only guy on the bottom. And let's get Cole back up here.
I'm just saying that Jaylen Smith has a tendency to maybe knock his teammates out of some plays every once in a while.
I think that's what happened there.
That's fair.
That's what happened.
Cole, glad to see you're alive. You're doing well. Shockingly, Connor took Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars as the number one overall pick. You are up on behalf of the New York Jets. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I guess all the tea leaves are saying they go Zach Wilson. So that's who we have them going. The Jets taking the BYU quarterback. I think Justin Fields deserves some serious consideration here. But, all the tea leaves are pointing towards Zach Wilson going to the Big Apple.
Yeah, it feels like Justin Fields as a New York Jet has just been completely forgotten about. Nobody really cares. Nobody's even considering it anymore. It's just Zach Wilson. Did you guys see the Chipotle thing about him last week? I did not see this. What was the story about him in Chipotle?
No, I didn't see the story on it. I just saw somebody post a graphic today on it.
Okay, so there's some association with Zach Wilson and Chipotle.
Oh, Connor, I did see that. Yeah.
Okay, well, you did see it, so you lied.
No.
What's the story?
All I know is that I think that he's actually sponsored by them now. I
Okay,
think that's
Dalton,
a legitimate thing. So
are you a bowl or a burrito guy when it comes to
I switch it up actually. It depends on the situation. And if I'm getting a burrito, I'm a double wrap guy. I go all the carbs.
You want to be taken care of. That's fine. Dalton, you are up. I don't know if I should address you as Dalton. Friend of all of ours, Bobby Belt, thinks it's really cool that we got Rodrigo Blankenship to guest on this mock draft. I don't know if you feel like that's accurate. Has that have you ever had that comparison drawn to you, Dalton?
No, I've never had that comparison drawn to me, and I've been around Rodrigo in person. I'm bigger than Rodrigo.
Wow, flex.
I think that's for me.
Because I
went off the glasses. Yeah,
that's what I went off of too.
But normally Rodrigo is active.
Yeah.
I mean,
that makes a lot more sense.
I've deactivated Rodrigo for this.
I was going to say Dalton has an early lead for tonight's MVP if he's drawing Rodrigo Blankenship comparisons. But if it's you, Connor,
not if you saw him at the Senior Bowl.
I mean, look,
no MVPs there.
Oh, well, that's true too. But anyway, Dalton, you're up first, or with your first pick. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson off the board. Justin Fields still available for the San Francisco 49ers. People are trying to say that the draft really starts at number 3. I don't think it really does. We know what it is. It's just it's a number of directions. But honestly, what they do could send this in a number of directions depending on the quarterback that they take. So choose responsibly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why the draft really does start here, because we know that they're going to go with quarterback, but I think depending on what quarterback goes is what is going to end up happening after that. It's all going to have a domino effect. And so here, I'm not getting McCorkle's tattoo on my arm. And Trey Lance is going to be the pick here. I think that when we initially heard about the trade, the initial name was Trey Lance. And then for some reason, very quickly after that, Trey Lance's name disappeared. And then we started getting the Mac Jones rumors hot and heavy. And then we started to turn it to Fields. And now it's not going to be, you know how the draft process goes here. But I think that at the end of the day, this name is the one that I think we kept going back to. Like, this is what they said right away. I think that they tried to maybe silence that and have people not think that. But I don't know why they're hiding it.
Connor, I want to ask you, because it's going to be one of a handful of directions, right? It's either Trey Lance, which I think would be the shocker now. Like Mac Jones has its own bit of steam. Justin Fields has his own bit of steam. Which quarterback domino that falls at 3 creates the best scenario for the Cowboys?
For the Cowboys, probably Mac Jones, because you feel like Trey Lance and Justin Fields is definitely going to go before 10, where if it's Fields and Lance or Lance and Fields, Jones could fall to 15 to the Pats or even further. So I think that if Mac Jones goes at 3, you're like, wow, there's definitely going to be 5 quarterbacks go before the 10th overall pick, which gives you 5 stud either defense or offensive players to pick from. So definitely for that question, I'd say Mac Jones.
Jay Crowder agrees with you. So Dalton not really picking with the interest of the Cowboys in mind. Got to deduct points for you in the MVP race tonight.
I got to be objective about this.
That's true. Okay, Trey Lance goes number 3 to San Francisco. Dalton, number 4, where the draft really starts again. Everybody wants to be the swing point in the draft, but the Atlanta Falcons could be the place where the first non-quarterback goes. It could be the place where the first quarterback in a long time in Atlanta goes. There are no trades here for the purposes of this discussion. We did not do any trades, so this is just 1 through 32 as things currently stand. So you are picking on behalf of the Atlanta Falcons. Apologies, Connor. Who do you got?
We're gonna go with Justin Fields. For the Falcons, I think it's gonna come down to Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Kyle Pitts. I think you could almost write it in stone that it'll be one of those 3 guys. If Trey Lance goes 3, I think it's in down to 2. I don't think they'd have interest in Mac Jones because they have a similar style of player in Matt Ryan that's kind of working his way out of Atlanta. For me, I mean, you don't, for the Falcons, you're not in a real rebuilding phase yet. You're not a young team. You're kind of getting to that transition point with the quarterback. Like, this is the perfect situation for you to draft Justin Fields, a guy who I think is the second best quarterback in this class, a top 10 player in this class. He can come in, he can sit a year if you need him to. I know the financial situation with Matt Ryan makes it tough to really move on right now. But in the next year or two, you can move on from him. You can always find a trade partner from an aggressive team trying to win now. So if you wanted to try to move Matt Ryan and maybe save some of the hit of losing a potential Hall of Fame style of quarterback, you could do that by trading him and getting some picks back. But I think you can't pass up on a quarterback because your odds of getting into the top 5 again for Atlanta within the next 2 or 3 years when you're going to need to draft a quarterback isn't very high, I don't think.
That's interesting. Where is the best non-Atlanta home for Matt Ryan? Like you're playing out this hypothetical now. So like you're running the Falcons. Where do you want to trade Matt Ryan to?
I mean, at this point, with his dollar figure, his cap hit, I'd trade him to whoever would take him at that point. Whatever I can.
That's okay, but you have to pick a team.
You put me on the spot. That's tough.
Connor, if you want to win MVP, I mean, you got to be ready. I mean, you can't be Jaylen, unable to move side to side.
I'm not saying like the Patriots probably wouldn't, but the Patriots make a ton of sense. Like they need a quarterback. They built their roster in free agency to go out and win, be a playoff contender. Like trading Matt Ryan to the Patriots would make a ton of sense. I don't know if that's something Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft would do.
The Boston connection is obvious. Dalton raised his hand. Only person in our live stream history to do that. So really earning some points here in the host size, at least. Dalton, you have a thought on Matt Ryan? Dalton, you're muted, I think.
Yes, the Saints. The Saints are the team that I
just lost some points, man.
Listen, I got a cat under me, and it's meowing super loud, like through my headphones. And can you guys hear that?
We can't.
Okay, cool. That's all I needed to know because it's annoying me, and so I'm trying to fight through that. But no, I think that the Saints would be a really good fit for Matt Ryan. He's getting up there. We know what Sean Payton can do with an immobile quarterback. If it doesn't work out with Jameis Winston, I think that's the direction you have to go. I mean, they would have had to have the money for it, which they don't. Right. But I think that's
the only
just
thing with them.
From a fit perspective, I really like that spot.
Joshua Parker says Denver, maybe.
Denver, yeah.
That kind of weapons.
Yeah.
Lance Bell on our Facebook page. The first time we're streaming on Facebook, so shout out to the Facebook audience, the Book of Faces, great people out there. Says, I live in Georgia. The Falcons will not let Justin Fields get by them. No doubt. So Connor, good job by you.
Justin Fields is just an Atlanta Falcons quarterback too. Like he like everything about him says he could succeed in Atlanta. I don't know what it is. Like he played obviously in Georgia.
Georgia.
He's from Georgia. He played at Ohio State, but he's from Georgia. Like just the way he carries himself just feels very like, oh, I belong in Atlanta. Like I just could see him having a long, successful career as a Falcon.
For sure. Cole, before we get to you and the Cincinnati Bengals, I still don't know which one of Connor or Dalton was compared to Rodrigo Blankenship, but we do have a specific comment for Dalton. Friend of ours, Marcus Mosier from the Locked On Cowboys podcast, says he's mesmerized by your mustache, Dalton. You using any oils here? Like you've got a comb? Like what's the deal?
No, I actually do absolutely nothing to it, and it's about to get mostly chopped off. I gotta pare it down a little bit. The wife doesn't like it too bushy, so I gotta get rid of it. I'm just waiting as long as possible.
She's the boss. Okay, Cole, you are up with the Cincinnati Bengals. Brian Curry, hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, says Bengals taking Chase. Book it. Do you have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a sexy pick. Obviously, Burrow and Chase, create a dynamic duo at LSU. Wide receiver, it's a skill position. All the fans love that. But, man, especially after seeing that Joe Burrow picture with the new uniforms, you saw that big scar on his knee from that devastating injury. I don't think the Bengals will be able to survive a the PR backlash that would come with passing up Penei Sewell. I think Sewell's too good of a prospect at this point in the draft. I think you'd be protecting, Burrow's blind side for the next decade. And there's enough receivers you can get in the second round. I think you can get a playmaker later on in the draft, but Sewell's the bona fide guy that I think you have to get.
First non-quarterback off the board, not Kyle Pitts. I think that pick makes sense, Cole. 1 to 10, 10 being sexy, to use your word, and 1 being not sexy. What were your thoughts on the Bengals' new uniforms?
Oh, I'll probably say 8.
They were awful.
I really like the all white. I really like the all whites.
The all white.
That's-
The all white is clean.
They already
like
had an
all
all jersey. They didn't need new ones for that.
I'm a sucker for the all whites.
I mean, look, I don't want to get way off topic, but my biggest gripe with the Bengals is their logo. Do y'all know what their logo is? Like what they put at the 50-yard line?
It's a bit B.
It's a B. Like, like they have a tiger as their mascot. And like you go and like, Cole, you're wearing a Cowboys hat and a Cowboys, shirt. If you go buy that stuff in Bengals versions, it's just a B. Like it's not even the tiger on there. Like it's so stupid the way. And
I agree with that.
I also think a Bengals helmet, or the Bengals helmet rather, would be a nightmare to get autographs on. You know what I mean? Because like, what do you do? Like, do you just have them sign along the orange? Like, it'd be terrible. Because like the silver doesn't always show. Whatever. That's a whole different point. We'll move on. Dalton, the Miami Dolphins up next at number 6 overall.
Kyle Pitts. This was a tough one. It was actually tough because between him and Chase, because they do already have Mike Gesicki there. Mike Gesicki was I think their second leading receiver last year. And Kyle Pitts is just a generational type of prospect. And I don't use that word very often when it comes to guys. I actually kind of hate that moniker, but we haven't seen an athletic presence like him at 20 years old. Like we have to understand he was still a teenager for doing a lot of that work. So I think that, he is that type of difference maker that even though he doesn't fit a, full need for them because he's not a, quote unquote receiver. I think that it helps out too. I think that it, puts another guy in the line of scrimmage, creates, a situation where the defense has to stay in a normal 4-3, like their base defense, and go a little bit heavier. And that creates a mismatch for either Gesicki or for Pitts. And the thing that a lot of people don't talk about is Pitts is a decent blocker, and he's going to get better as he fills out and gets kind of his, professional body in. I think that it's too good of a talent to pass up on just because he's not a specific need.
You've got the best pick of the draft so far, Dalton. Once again in the running for MVP. It's well done. Congratulations. Good job by you. Dab it up. But yeah, still a lot of draft to go.
Not dabbing.
There have been reports that like everybody's looking to trade back or at least interested in trading back. It would be hilarious if Miami traded back and picked up more than the Eagles did when they originally traded back with Miami about a month ago. Connor, you're up for your favorite team, the Detroit Lions. How do you feel about picking for another team in silver and blue?
I guess I'm excited.
Okay. Are you nervous?
I didn't know the Lions were one of my favorite teams, but we're Detroit pride.
The 3-1-3, dude.
The 3-1-3. We made trucks a thing. So I'm a lion for life, as they would say in Detroit. But I think
do they say that?
I don't think so. It flew out pretty well, so I went with it. No, but they need receivers. Marvin Jones is gone. Kenny Galladay's gone. They don't. I don't know if I know a single receiver on their roster right now. So Jamar Chase, I think that makes a ton of sense. I think he kind of fills in that Kenny Galladay role as a big physical guy who can create in all 3 levels of the field. Good route runner, really good athlete. He tested a lot better than I think maybe his tape would suggest, but he took the year off, could have, worked on his explosion, his overall, flexibility as an athlete. So I think he's athletic enough. He's obviously got the ability to go get the football. He's got that alpha male mentality when going to play the ball in the air. He's a really good fit for Detroit. You just kind of got to rely on Jared Goff getting him the ball. But his size, his catch radius, his body control, like all that stuff will play in Detroit with a quarterback who's not the most consistently accurate guy being on time, but I think he's a good fit for Detroit and could help really bolster the wide receiver room for him.
I do not off the top of my head, but does anybody know Jamar Chase's high school team's mascot off the top of their head?
I'm going to go with a lion.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't know. But it would be cool if it was a bear, because then he would have been a bear and then a tiger and then a lion. So he would have like the whole thing checked. Thank you very much. Yeah. Maybe I'm in the running for MVP. No big deal. Another ferocious animal in the animal kingdom. Cole Patterson, you are up for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think this would have been a ideal fit, or at least a potential landing spot for Mac Jones prior to the Sam Darnold trade. They do have DJ Moore, they do have Christian McCaffrey, so they're pretty set at weapons. I know they did lose Curtis Samuel, so they could go wide receiver here, but at the end, I do have them adding Rashawn Slater, arguably the best offensive lineman in this draft, at least one of the two best. I think he can slide in, protect Sam Darnold, open up some running lanes for Christian McCaffrey, and be a big building block for Matt Rule. They went all defense last year. I think they added offensive lineman first round this year.
We are coming up on the Cowboys pick. Cole, you just took the last conceivable tackle for the Cowboys, at least, at number 10 off of the board. Penei Sewell gone, Rashawn Slater gone. You drafted them both, so it's actually your fault specifically. No big deal. Dalton, you took Kyle Pitts for the Miami Dolphins. We have had nothing but offensive players go. There's one pick left before the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. Who do you have the Denver Broncos trading? Again, drafting. We don't have any trades in this particular mock draft.
That would be Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons. Now, listen, I know that there's a lot of people that have, kind of really talked down to Micah Parsons or about Micah Parsons throughout the draft cycle. A lot of people have said that he's not very good. And I think part of that.
It's okay. Just way to be blunt,
man. Part of that is because we don't want the Cowboys to draft a linebacker in round one. Micah Parsons is an athletic freak. He came in to Penn State as a defensive end, switched over to linebacker, and immediately made a difference at a position that he hadn't played. And so for me, I sit here and I think this guy is still learning. And as long as he can mature a little bit, because a lot of people don't like him, for the, off the field potential hazing incidents at Penn State, or alleged, I guess is how I should say that. It doesn't all add up. And so Cowboys fans, I think, have gone a little bit hard on him when in reality, he could be one of the 3 or 4 best linebackers in the NFL if he gets it. He's got that high of a ceiling.
Jared Odell says Denver will probably draft Surtain, as I covered your face up, Dalton. What was your thought there? Joe, by the way, agrees. So you've got 2 against 1.
Yeah. And so thought about that, but they just got Kendall Fuller. I know he's on a 1-year deal, and they could go with a corner here, but they have other needs on that team and on that defense. And so I don't know if they end up going corner because of Kendall Fuller being there.
Well said. Well thought out. Okay, so this is the draft board as things currently lie. Picks 1 through 9 are in. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. We're all watching the War Room cam to see who's in there. We missed. I feel like that was a forgotten thing. We missed the War Room cam last year. Not the exact same thing. So I'm really excited to get that back. But by the way, Lance Bell says, why not Denver picking Trey Lance? Certainly. Interesting, but Trey Lance is in San Francisco, so not possible. So Connor, scale of 1 to 10, which is my favorite game, with 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. This has played out to what degree for the Cowboys?
9.
Okay, Cole.
Yeah, I say a 9 as well.
Dalton, be different.
7.
Oh well, what are you pissed about?
Pitts.
No, I'm upset that Jaylen Waddle is still on the board.
Why don't I take him?
So you are upset. I bleed blue 365. So 365. What about leap years? I bleed blue. But says Waddle to the Cowboys, let's do this. It appears that Dalton is a fan. However, Connor, you have not won an MVP yet throughout our live streams. This is your chance to really set yourself apart. Who do you have the Dallas Cowboys taking?
Yeah, Dak Prescott's never won an MVP either, but Tony Romo never won an MVP either. But sometimes he just carries the whole league around. 2014, 2016, whatever. We'll get to that later. But I would really love to go Jaylen Waddle here. I would love to do it because I think he is. I'd love to go Waddle or Devontae Smith. Both of those players would make me extremely happy. I'd draft them. I'd score 50 points a game. I'd be on cloud 9. But you got to fix the secondary. The issues with the Dallas defense last year, I don't even think always came back to lack of talent. I think it came back to just not having intelligent football players. always on the field for you. I mean, when you're playing guys like Savion Smith, Rashard Robinson,
who got suspended today, by the way, for the first 2 games of the season.
Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, a lot of guys who just aren't super high football IQ guys. And then you have a guy like Patrick Surtain there that makes a living being super intelligent, being super smart, being super fundamental, doing everything, just the way that it's taught. He doesn't go outside of his ability. He doesn't try to do too much. The only thing he lacks, I think, is just the elite ball skills that you look at for a corner, but he tested a lot better than expected. He's got ideal size. He's got ideal length. He's got ideal production in an SEC school. So it just makes a ton of sense for me, because I think he's a guy you're going to pair with Trayvon Diggs. You're going to have a very intelligent corner that can run multiple different schemes, can run multiple different coverages. You can disguise things a little bit easier than you did last year with Chidobe Awuzie, with Rashard Robinson, things like that. So just the safe, like Andrew said here, he's just a super safe pick. I don't know that he'll ever be Jalen Ramsey, but he's going to play a high level of football for you for, like Cole said earlier, probably a decade. You'll get tons. You won't get any bust. You're not going to have the coverage bust that you saw from Trayvon Diggs. You won't see a lot of that. When he gets beat, it's going to be that Byron Jones style of beat where he's right there in coverage and the guy just makes a play on the ball that he couldn't. But for me, I just think this is probably a no-brainer. They could go J.C. Horn. They could go that route too, and I'd be happy with it. But I think if both of these corners are still on the board, it's got to be one of them.
That's well sold. Well sold, Connor. I'm in. I'm down with you. Joshua Parker is not. Says, well, Connor isn't winning MVP. Cole, the only players you would prefer ahead of Patrick Surtain for the Cowboys are who?
Like, it's already been taken, or just in general?
No, like in general. It's Cole's world. We're all living in it. Who are the only guys you'd rather have over Patrick Surtain?
Pitt, Sewell, and Waddle.
Okay, so then this isn't a 10 out of 10 for you, like in a literal sense. It's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. But like Connor said, he is a safe pick. And I don't think he would be a bad pick by any stretch. But you asked me who I'd rather have, and there's certainly players I'd rather have.
Dalton, interesting question for you, which is kind of a compliment for myself since I'm the one asking the question. Patrick Surtain is the most predictable Cowboys pick since when? Because I've said this in a number of different places, but if we put all of the mocks in the universe into a bag and we stuck our hand in and pulled out 10 in a row, we would probably pull Patrick Surtain to the Cowboys out at least 9 times. It is incredibly predictable. Who was the last pick that was at least this predictable?
In my opinion, I think it's Zeke. I mean, I know that there was the Zeke and Jaylen talk, but I mean, I was pretty sure they were going to pick Zeke.
Yeah, I was going to say Leighton, because like the Leighton, chatter was hot. And you could also go Tristan Hill, because that was that chatter though, or is that just everybody knowing who they were going to like? I feel like we don't know that it's going to be Patrick Surtain, but
it's like
there's a really one that makes the most.
But like
that's
Leighton
a really interesting point.
Leighton and Tristan 2 weeks before the draft, people were telling me like, "Yep, that's who it's going to be if he's there," and we knew that they were going to be there, so it was like a no-brainer, but. That's a tough question. I do like that question though, because it's been so long that like without certainty, without people telling like us or other people, the whispers being like, that's who they're taking, that we've like, cause we haven't heard that about Surtain. It hasn't been, they're going to take Surtain. Like some people have been like, Slater could be high on their board. Some people are like Pitt, they're infatuated with Pitt. So like, there's no like sure thing yet with this pick, which is kind of interesting, but I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a really interesting point that you both uncovered. I'll give 60% of the credit to Connor, 40 to Dalton, actually 30 to Dalton, 10 to Cole, because, Cole offered something as well. Let's not, leave Cole out in the cold, because they were predictable in different senses. That really, and that's why Dalton, I think you'll come back. I'm going to up your percentage and take away from Connor's, because I think it was Zeke. That was the true, there are 2 different fits. I mean, in an overall sense, between Zeke and Jaylen Ramsey. So that might be the true answer. Lori Haresh, friend of all of ours, all the way from the land down under, says Leighton Vander Esch is the answer. Everyone was told so. Again, but that's different than Surtain because he is the most logical pick.
Technically, it'd be Tristan Hill the year after that, because there was a month before the draft. I remember me, Dalton, and Cole doing podcasts, and we were like, well, we know who they're taking at whenever the pick. I don't remember when it was 57 or whatever. So who are they going to take in the third round?
I do, before we move on to you, Cole, with the 11th overall pick, want to address this. Jesse Sanchez on YouTube says trade down to 15 the Patriots and pick up their number 1 2022 and pick up Caleb Farley. Last week in Mel Kiper's mock draft, he had the Cowboys moving back from 10 to 15, and they picked up New England's 2022 first round pick. They still walked away with J.C. Horn, not Caleb Farley. However, I don't think this is practical. I don't know if you guys agree. This was not on our rundown. I don't have any graphics for it. But I went and sort of looked back. Last week I wrote about this at bloggingtheboys.com. The 10th overall pick has been traded out of on draft day in 3 of the last 6 drafts. The Buffalo Bills traded out with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017. They went from 10 all the way to 27. So they did pick up a future first round pick, but that's a really large dip. And that was the pick that Kansas City took Patrick Mahomes in. In 2018, the next year, the then Oakland Raiders moved back with the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona went up for Josh Rosen. That obviously did not work out. But Oakland moved back 5 spots like this proposition entails and did not pick up a future first-round pick. I think the highest pick they had off the top of my head, I wrote about this, again, so you can find it on Blogging the Boys, but was a 3rd-round pick. And they also traded one of their 3rds from Martavis Bryant draft weekend, if you remember that. It was a really funny thing. But finally, 2 years ago, in 2019, the Denver Broncos moved back from 10 to 20, which is where Chicago sits. We've talked about them as a potential trade back candidate for the Cowboys. They did pick up a 2nd-round pick in that draft. And in 2019, they later used that to move up to get Drew Lock, which, again, hasn't worked out either. But the point is, there's just like this idea that Mel Kiper and whoever else is putting out. By the way, we just put the comment out with the article on our stream. If you're on YouTube, you can see the link. But I mean, it's not possible to me that the Cowboys could move back 5 or even 10 spots and pick up a first-round pick. Do you agree, Connor?
10, yes. 5, I don't think so. I think if you move back 10 spots, you could definitely, especially for a quarterback, like if it's for Mac Jones or Trey Lance.
That Denver trade was not. It was Pittsburgh going up for Devin Bush.
Right.
So not a quarterback like the Josh Rosen one was. We do have the article now up on our Facebook stream as well. But Cole, do you agree that that's impractical to expect moving down to 15 and picking up a first-round pick?
It's probably not likely, but if Patriots are in love with Mac Jones and he's still on the board here, then Dallas might be able to get that from them. Teams are desperate for quarterbacks.
Dalton, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way. I think it would be difficult to pick up another one for that. That would be tough.
I think you would need to have the 5th quarterback be the only one that's left. And you would, I think you would need multiple bidders.
Yeah, it would have to be a quarterback.
It's obviously possible. It's obviously possible, but recent trade market would suggest that it's not. But okay, Cowboys take Patrick Surtain. If you want to read that, you can, again, wherever you're watching. Jared Odell, by the way, a great point. Bill Belichick is never desperate. We're talking about like that being the team that we're trying to hoodwink here. So Cole, you're up at the 11th overall pick. Connor made a huge leap forward in the MVP discussion. So going from Jaylen to MVP is a pretty sizable turnaround. But you're up, number 11, New York Giants.
Yeah, I know they added Kenny Golladay in free agency. They have some decent weapons as well. But I did consider going with Jaylen Waddle or Devontae Smith here. Ultimately, I do not want Dallas to face them in the division, and I do think New York will probably want to build in the trenches. So I went with Elijah Vera Tucker. I think that's sounds like a pick that New York would like. They like to build the interior of both sides of the line of scrimmage. Vera Tucker is a guy who's among the best offensive line prospects in this draft class. Like I said, they did address receiver with Kenny Golladay, so they don't need to take a wide out, even if that is an option. I think Vera Tucker could be a guy that slides right in, becomes a starter there for the foreseeable future.
It was reported today, Cole, by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, that the Giants are among the teams considering moving back from the 11th overall pick. General manager Dave Gettleman has never traded back in his history as a general manager in the first round specifically. Do you buy that?
That they trade back?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they trade back.
So you're calling him a hater?
I mean, history says they won't. So until we're proven otherwise, I have no reason to think they will.
Dalton, do you buy it?
No. Gettleman's a caveman.
Connor, do you buy it?
No, I don't think so either. The track record shows he doesn't. I don't see why they do it this year with probably multiple good receivers and good linemen on the board.
Okay, well, that's well said. All right, let's move on to number 12 overall. Dalton, you are up next. Who do you have? Jaylen Waddle is still on the board. If you do this, Really going to hurt your chances.
Yep, this is how I end up, getting last place in the division. 4-12 record here. The 12th pick is going to be Alabama wide receiver Jaylen Waddle. I'm really, really sorry, Joe. I don't want this either. But it's the most realistic outcome, in my opinion, because they need somebody. They have screwed it up time in, time out. We just saw the video, I believe it was yesterday, of the Minnesota Vikings just laughing at the Eagles for drafting last year and passing up on Justin Jefferson. So I think that they're going to go Jaylen Waddle. They're going to get, another speed guy, but Jaylen Waddle he's so much more than that. And this is my worst nightmare because as good as I think Patrick Surtain is, Trayvon Diggs is, they're not guarding Jaylen Waddle. It's just not going to happen, and you got to see him twice a year now. So
Jay Crowder,
I agree with Jay.
Yeah, Jay Crowder says if Hurts is throwing in the ball, I'm far less.
But the issue with that is you can also hand him off the ball. You can throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. He can take punts back.
He can
20
return,
plus yards. It's all bad. It's all bad.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that into our lives, Dalton. I really appreciate that.
I'm really sorry.
Hey, you know what? In one way, Dalton just improved his MVP odds because he's being real. All right. He's Jaylen. He's telling it to us the way that it just is. Watch the film, guys.
Watch the film.
So, all right, Connor, you are up. The Los Angeles Chargers, another one of your favorite teams, I believe.
I have a lot of favorite teams.
Well, you are kind of a bandwagon fan.
Go Bolts.
Yeah, Connor is a New York Yankees and a Dallas Cowboys fan. Although I say that wearing a Manchester United kit here. It is what it is. But go ahead, Connor. My apologies.
Yeah, I think you could almost lock in one of these tackles being the pick at 13 for the Chargers. I think they could be an interesting team to move up to grab one of those guys if it's a guy that they love, like Slater. If he doesn't go, at 9, if you wanted to move back to 13 from 10, something like that. I know we didn't do trades though, so Christian Darrisaw of Virginia Tech is a top 12 player for me. He's my 11th ranked player in this draft class. He is a really good left tackle prospect. He is a left tackle. He's not a guy that you're really looking at moving in inside. He's going to play left tackle. He's super fluid, super athletic. He's long. He's got size. He's got speed. He's a good pass protector. He showed really good signs of being a good run blocker too. I think that's probably the one little thing he'll need to develop a little bit is just consistency as a run blocker. But you turn on the UNC tape, he just absolutely destroys Chaz Surratt multiple times in that game. He's just a nasty dude. I mean, he doesn't all people say he doesn't always finish plays, he doesn't always drive guys into the ground, but I think he has reps of him showing that nasty bloodline that he has. And I think he is a stud that the Chargers are going to be really happy with to protect Justin Herbert's blind side.
Wow. If anyone's MVP, maybe it is Justin Herbert. Getting a couple of new offensive linemen this offseason. Things looking pretty solid for another team that the Cowboys are set to face here in 2021. So good job, Connor, continuing to kick all of us while we are down. Cole Patterson, the reigning MVP. You're up on behalf of Mike Zimmer's Minnesota Vikings, one of your favorite teams, as I understand.
Yeah, big Vikings fan here. Huge Kirk Cousins guy.
Was that your skull? Is that
that was my Viking?
Pretty
horn.
Impressive.
Okay.
I think he should win MVP just based on that.
Okay, cool. You're up.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Philly would consider the guy who I'm going to give Minnesota. Obviously, they went Jaylen Waddle, which is hard to pass up on him. We know Mike Zimmer loves his defensive back, so I've been going with South Carolina defensive back J.C. Horn, who's arguably the best corner in this draft class. He's a guy that can get really physical. He plays a lot of swagger, which is what you really want in a cornerback. I know they took Jeff Gladney and Cam Dancer in last year's draft.
All of the corners, all the DBs.
They took all the corners.
Yeah.
I don't think that should stop them from taking maybe the best prospect on the board right now in J.C. Horn. I think he can step in and be an impact player in that secondary. And like I said, I don't think Zimmer's going to pass on a defensive back that he really likes.
Let's not forget that the Minnesota Vikings also signed Xavier Woods in free agency. I mean, talk about an incredible boost.
80% of the time, it's going to be fantastic.
Dalton, you are up. with the New England Patriots. We talked about this being a spot if the Cowboys did trade back, and as evidenced by the fact that J.C. Horn just went 14 overall to the Minnesota Vikings, that would kind of suck. So, we don't have the board up right now, but hypothetically, right here with Horn gone, if you're the Cowboys, you've moved back. What do you do? Do you take Caleb Farley?
They would probably take Greg Newsome. One thing
you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I would take Caleb Farley. If I'm going to be taking a corner, and listen, I really, really like Greg Newsome. My issue is that for some reason, his injury history isn't talked about the same way that Caleb Farley's is. Caleb Farley, obviously the couple of back surgeries, he actually played through that back injury in 2019, and then had surgery on it, and then had another surgery while he was training. But Greg Newsome has played 17 games in college. He's missed 14 games in college, and for some reason, it's not talked about.
Except by Dalton Miller here on Talkin the Draft. Everybody, listen to Dalton Miller. Now listen to him make the pick for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, it's going to be Mac Jones, quarterback Mac Jones. They don't have a future. I love Cam Newton, but it's quite obviously not he used to be. And so they go Mac Jones, and they get somebody who can run a ball control underneath style of offense. And it's not like Mac Jones can't push the ball down the field either. I just think that, New England is going to have to kind of improve that offense a little bit, or that offensive line a little bit, get a couple more weapons so he can facilitate that a little bit better and, get to take some of those shots.
Okay. Guys, Dalton's doing really well here. I mean, he's playing the hits. I bleed blue 365, 80% of the time. It works all the time. So, Dalton, proud of you. Don't start counting the chickens, though. I mean, just be careful.
I can't
Connor,
count, so we're okay.
Connor, you are up with the Arizona Cardinals. Not one of your favorite teams. You hate the Cardinals. Just want to be on the record there.
That's I don't think
is that a cardinal?
What are we doing right now? Have you never seen a cardinal before?
What noise does a cardinal make? I don't know.
Do you guys remember last year when the bird gauntlet was a thing? Like, do you remember how happy things around the Cowboys were when the bird gauntlet stuff came out? Like that was like, oh man, they're just gonna run through this thing. It's gonna be awesome. And then they got blasted by the Cardinals that Connor's about to pick for.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals are an interesting spot because they could go multiple ways, but I think going with the guy we just talked about, Greg Newsome, makes a ton of sense. They lost Patrick Peterson. They ended up moving on from him. So I think they're going to be looking for a guy that can step in and play corner. They have Budda Baker, who plays that versatile safety role, can do a lot of things for that defense. So adding another kind of chess piece, a guy who, like Dalton says, like if he can stay healthy, he could be the best corner in this class. I saw a comment in the comment section that just said that, and I think that's true because he's so fluid with his transitions. He's got good ball skills. He's a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career. He's not the longest guy in the world either, but for some teams, they don't care about the arm length. They care about how physical you can be. They care about how, going to get the football, how fluid you can be as a transition corner, being able to play the zone schemes. And he did a lot of that stuff at Northwestern. So you're betting on health a little bit, but I think that getting him at 16 here gives you a really good fit for that defense who can hopefully come in and replace Patrick Peterson.
If the Cardinals disappoint this season, this isn't a draft-related question. Is Cliff Kingsbury out?
He probably should be.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, Dalton, you were talking about things people don't talk about. Like, we're maybe 2 months away from like these coaches are on the hot seat, and like Mike McCarthy is going to be like at the top of that list because people are dumb. Although it's a somewhat fair take. I mean, you get my point though. Like people are jumping to that conclusion with Mike McCarthy, like on a Nas boost compared to Cliff Kingsbury. Like, what has Cliff Kingsbury done in Arizona?
For a while, we thought they were going to win the Super Bowl last year.
But that's the thing is we went into, I at least went into 2020 thinking that they were going to be a pretty decent squad, and they started off hot and then just took a tailspin.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that defense was not good last year. So I think that's why adding defensive chess pieces to it could help because the offense had its struggles at times. but I just think it's because Kyler Murray played inconsistent football last year.
Exactly.
Like, there was at times where he looked like he could be an MVP candidate, and then there was at times where he looked worse than Andy Dalton. And in the game, they beat the tar out of the Cowboys. Kyler Murray was terrible.
Didn't he throw like 8 passes? I believe he only threw like 8 passes that game.
I think he completed 8 passes.
Yeah,
thank you.
He threw a bunch, and all of them are in the stands and stuff. And I was like, this guy is terrible. But they still dropped like 38 on us. And
I will say this: the Cardinals are the next team to change uniforms and completely ruin it, like the Falcons did last year and the Bengals did this year, because it's just a thing.
They need
like,
to change their uniforms.
But like it's impossible to mess up these color schemes, like, you know, black, red, and white, but the Falcons did, and even orange, black, and white, but the Bengals did. So it is what it is. Perhaps the best color scheme in the NFL belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders. Cole, Dan Rogers says that each pick should be introduced with an inaccurate mascot impersonation. So if you want to give your best Raider impersonation, I don't know what that would be.
I'm not even sure what that would
just
mean.
Just go punch a hole in your drywall.
I was thinking more like a arr, but that's I think people associate that with the Bucks more than the Raiders. But it's the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, but whatever. But Cole, you are up on behalf of the Las Vegas Raiders. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think this is one of the more interesting picks in the first round. You can see the Raiders going in a number of different directions. Obviously, Gruden and loves big school players, high character guys. I'm going to go with JOK out of Notre Dame. They need more talent on the back end of that defense. Obviously, they spent a first-round pick on Jonathan Abram just a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, Abram's a liability in coverage. He can't stay healthy on the field. But JOK, he excels in coverage. He can play all over the football field. He was pretty much a guy that Notre Dame used to match up with anybody on the opposing offense. He matched up with Devontae Smith a little bit in the playoff game. He's really a guy that you can use all over your defense. I think he'd be an ideal fit for that Las Vegas defense as they look to rebuild and hopefully get back into the postseason. Again, he comes from a big-time program in Notre Dame, high-character guy. I think he would be a match for what they're looking for.
Well said. Look at that. Cole Patterson for a Vegas Raiders head coaching job. I think we're all endorsing that. Okay, let's just, the Raiders are kind of insignificant here. Not like, and you had the misfortune of having their pick, Cole, but I'm really excited to see what Miami does next. Especially Dalton coming off of the Kyle Pitts pick, has a chance to really impress us all in his bid for MVP tonight. Dalton, the floor is yours. Don't mess it up. You're on mute, buddy.
You're on mute.
Mess it up.
Listen,
if he wins MVP, I quit.
Listen, I've never made Miami Dolphins fans upset before in my life. Never. And I'm not going to do that today either, because
Dalton, every pick you're making looks like it's just incredibly taxing on your life because of the way you're bending your elbow. You're just like, look, man, like
it's the way I'm dropping knowledge. I gotta really pay attention here. So I obviously got Kyle Pitts early. It wasn't really a big need, but he's a generational type of talent. They still have a big need at wide receiver, but wait, there's more, because Devontae Smith is still on the board, and Kyle Pitts and Devontae Smith are two of the guys that it came down to at 6. Yeah. So if they can somehow get Devontae Smith at 18, I mean, that's the biggest up. I mean, that's a complete home run. You get a guy who Tua Tagovailoa is already comfortable with, and a guy who has the catch radius of a pterodactyl. Like, it's just impossible to fail if you are a half decent quarterback at that point.
Are we sure that a pterodactyl has like the largest wingspan of all animals that have ever lived?
So it's one of the biggest. I actually looked up earlier the longest or the widest wingspan for a plane, and I think I tweeted it out earlier. It's in an article or something. But yeah, so the pterodactyls are massive.
I'm not denying that, but I actually think they're the scariest dinosaur in Jurassic Park. Like, everybody gets all, whatever about the T-Rex and stuff, but like the pterodactyl can do a lot of damage in its own particular way. So yeah, it is what it is.
The Stratolaunch is the widest winged plane in the world.
Is it wider than a pterodactyl?
I believe so. I think it's like 136 feet wide or something like that.
if man can make an airplane that's wider than a pterodactyl, then I'm already less intimidated by the pterodactyl. So it is what it is. Connor, you are up. The Washington football team. You're pumped.
I don't really have an impersonation for the football team.
That was it.
Hut, hut.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they're still going to go receiver. I know they added Curtis Samuel to the mix with Terry McLaurin. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Joshua Parker knocked it out of the park. Rashad Bateman, I just think, makes a ton of sense for that offense. Curtis Samuel can do a lot of the jet motion work. He can do a lot of the taking the ball out of the backfield work. He's a good route runner. He's improved as an overall receiver over his last few years in Carolina. Terry McLaurin is obviously a stud, but I think adding Rashad Bateman to that group gives them 3 legit receivers and really pairs up well against the NFC East, who, the Philly doesn't have any corners. Dallas is kind of working towards finding some corners. The Giants have some corners, but you're really looking at building a strong offense to complement that dominant defense that they have in Washington. And Bateman can do that. I mean, he is electric with the football in his hands. He's not a burner by any means, but he's just quick in the open field. Tough guy to bring down with his toughness and agility in the open field. He secures everything. I think he snatches the ball out of the football, out of the air, just super easy. He's got super soft hands. So I think that pick makes a ton of sense and makes that football team offense just a lot more dangerous.
That would really suck. But the Cowboys had Patrick Surtain, so I mean, not all hope is lost, but a lot of hope definitely lost.
Hopefully, Patrick Surtain's on Terry McLaurin because Terry McLaurin son Trayvon Diggs a lot last year. So we're gonna.
Yeah. Okay, Connor, hurting your MVP causes. See how it is. All right, let's speed through these next 3 so we can get the draft board up. Cole, for the Chicago Bears, you've got who?
Yeah, the Chicago Bears are going with Samuel Cosmi out of Texas, offensive tackle, really athletic, big frame. Obviously, they probably want a quarterback, but have them going offensive line.
Dalton, for the Indianapolis Colts.
Edge rusher from Georgia, Azeez Ojulari.
Did not have your mic on mute. Well done. Connor, you're up next on behalf of the Tennessee Titans.
One of my favorite players in this class, even though he does have some injury history, Caleb Farley, Virginia Tech corner.
Oh,
you said quick.
Right?
You said quick.
Well, everybody had like one comment. I thought you were going to offer the comment.
Well, they lost to Dory Jackson in free agency. Bringing in Caleb Farley gives them another ultra athletic dude who can man up on the outside. And if he's healthy, I think he's the best corner in this class.
All right, so here's where things stand after the first 22 picks in our mock draft here tonight on the live stream. We appreciate those of you watching on YouTube, those of you listening on Facebook or watching on Facebook, and those of you listening after the fact on the Blog and the Boys podcast network. Caleb Farley, certainly somebody who a lot of people like if the Cowboys do trade back. We did not do any trades in this particular mock. Cole, you picked on behalf of the Chicago Bears. So I want to ask you first because we have discussed picks 15 and 20 as potential trade back candidates for the Dallas Cowboys. Had the Cowboys moved back to 20, who would you take for them there at that point? Given who had gone in the first 19 picks. I put you on the spot, but you guys got to work if you want to win MVP. I mean, and if you're 20? Watching along live to buy these guys some time, who would you have taken if the Cowboys were picking at 20, if they had traded back? So you've got everybody except the first 19 picks to choose from. Cole, you're up first.
Yeah, I'm injured, or I'm scared from his back injury, but I really like Caleb Farley. I think that's who I ultimately ended up going with, especially with Greg Newsome already off the board, J.C. Horn, a couple picks before that.
Okay, so we've got one for Caleb Farley. Dalton, I'm going to go with you last. Connor, you up next. Who would you have taken for the Cowboys? It can't be Caleb Farley in the interest of, differences. Well, and so, Dalton, you can't pick who Connor's going to take.
I was going to do something different instead of saying Caleb Farley, even though that's
Look at the flex from Connor. This guy wants MVP.
He's one step ahead.
I'd be going with my horn frog, Trayvon Morig. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think they have a lot of interest in him. They worked him out at his pro day. They have a need at that free safety spot. He can do a lot of different things in that defense. So I think that's a player he might not be the highest ranked player on my board there, but I think it's a player that they would definitely consider at 20.
All right, Dalton, you wound up taking Azeez for the Indianapolis Colts. I Bleed Blue 365, covering you up on the stream here momentarily, says that that's who they would have taken for the Dallas Cowboys for the 20th overall pick. Is that a sentiment that you share?
No, it is not. I would have taken Jaylen Phillips from Miami, top edge rusher for me personally.
Okay. Do either of you like anybody else's pick more than your own? Dalton, I'll start with you because you went last.
Caleb Farley.
Okay. So you both. Okay. So wow, Cole looking for back-to-back MVPs. Okay. All right.
Barry went first.
Hey,
defending my crown.
If you want to go first, win MVP, and then you get to go first the next week. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You guys better chill, or Cole's gonna go missing here in a second again.
All right, Cole. You are up next with the New York Jets. Go ahead, and make your pick.
Yeah, they took Zach Wilson with the second overall pick. They got to get him some protection. I'm going with Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. Obviously, they drafted Mekhi Becton last year to get left tackle. But Jenkins at right tackle. He's a guy with a mean streak. He's very aggressive. He excels, in pass protection. He's very good in run blocking as well. He's not as polished as some of the other guys. He's probably in that next tier of offensive tackles, kind of along with Cosme. He's a guy that has some upside to him. Like I said, he has a mean streak. He plays to the whistle. He plays nasty. I think that's what New York needs. You drafted a quarterback number 2. You got to invest some resources into holding him upright.
Look at you, Cole. That's what they need. You need to be in charge of the New York Jets. Would you like living in New York?
They would have to give me a big salary in order to afford to live up in New York.
Well, you'd live in New Jersey, so it wouldn't be.
I'm speaking like an NFL world. You know what I mean? Like you would live in New York, but you live in New Jersey. Ted Mosby hated New Jersey, so maybe you wouldn't. Who knows? But either way, Dalton, you are up next for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tristan Mesa said that they were eager to see who y'all draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So don't let Tristan down.
Well, I guess it all depends on whether he is a fan of running backs in the first round or not. Because they're taking Najee Harris from Alabama. I've heard that there's a very decent chance that this could end up being the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would go the opposite direction. I would go Creed Humphrey here personally. They obviously they lost their center. He retired. Is it Maurice or Mark? Which Pouncey brother was it?
I think it's Marquise Pouncey.
Marquise,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Marquise retired, and so you have to have a replacement there. And I think the Creed Humphrey would be a good one to be there, but I think that they make the wrong pick and go Najee Harris.
Wow. All right. Dalton hating on the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing to the fans. I see it. Well done. Connor, you are up next, and you are picking on behalf of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your second Jacksonville Jaguars pick. Pretty neat how that all worked out. How you had the Jaguars picks, Cole had the Jets picks, Dalton had the Dolphins picks. Nice symmetry here. By the way, quickly, Tristan wanted to clarify, I'm not a Steelers fan. I've just seen a lot of the fans want Najee, but like Dalton, I think they should go offensive line. Look at that, Dalton. You turned it around, dude. Wow. Connor, follow that.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars should definitely look to go receiver here. They have DJ Chark. I like him a lot, but I think and they drafted Laviska Shenault last year. But I think if they could add another good receiver to that offense with Trevor Lawrence, they could look really good. But for me, I went with Trayvon Morig, the safety out of TCU. I think my guy. I love him. And this is right where I kind of have him graded towards that mid-20s. I think he's 25th on my board. He's just a dude. I mean, he goes and gets the football. He's a good tackler. He's good in space. He kind of does everything. He's kind of like the Patrick Surtain for safeties. There's no big holes in his game. He's just a smart, intelligent football player. He brings leadership. He turns the ball over. Like, he does everything you want in your safety. And I think that'd be a really good pick to start building that defense back up to where it was a few years ago when they were one of the best defenses in the leagues when they were in the playoffs and should have probably made it to the AFC championship.
They did make the AFC championship game. They lost to the New England Patriots.
New England Patriots, yeah. That was the Miles Jack fumble.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They should have made it to the Super Bowl then, excuse me.
Had they won that game, and I'll go quickly, just yes or no, all three of you. Connor, did they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 52?
No.
Cole?
Nah.
Dalton?
Nope.
All of you losing points.
There's just too much, everything was going Philadelphia's way. I mean, it was like a storybook.
Cole, the hell? I mean, whatever. All right, Cole. The Cleveland Browns are up next. You've got them. Do something cool.
Yeah. So they already have Myles Garrett, freaking nature on that defensive line. They just signed Jadeveon Clowney as well to a 1-year deal. I have them bolstering that defensive line even more. They got Lamar Jackson in the division. They got obviously Joe Burrow. They need to get some pressure and then get to the quarterbacks. So I've been going to UCLA, former UCLA and former Miami Hurricane edge rusher, Jaylen Phillips, guy with some injury history, concussions, had to medically retire for a little bit. Obviously transferred over to Miami and excelled there. Probably the best pass rusher on film in its entire draft class, but the injury history kind of scares some teams away. You can move Clowney inside with Cleveland. You have the trio of Clowney, Phillips, and Garrett, probably the nastiest in the league. Obviously, definitely near the top. And Cleveland, that's how you build playoff rosters, and I think that would be a smart pick by them.
Yeah, this is one of the more fun picks. I mean, Dalton's kind of leading that with the Dolphins, but this would be a lot of fun just to watch.
Yeah, they can go in a number of ways, yeah.
Okay, Dalton, Baltimore Ravens. Be cool.
There's only one pick for the Baltimore Ravens in any mock draft that anybody does ever. It's Joseph Asai, the edge rusher from Texas. He was born, he came out of the womb and was a Baltimore Raven already. The way that this dude plays the game is everything that city and everything that organization stands for. All that dude does is try his hardest on every single play. It's ridiculous, to the point where people thought that he wasn't as good of an athlete as he actually ended up being in testing, because he's always playing so hard. They were like, yeah, he's just a try hard. He's not actually that explosive. And he was. And so for me, I think he had the one bad game against Tevin Jenkins, which kind of soured a lot of people on him. But he is outstanding overall. He played out of position like actual off-ball linebacker before this past season. I think that he's going to continue to grow as an edge rusher. And he does have that added bonus of versatility where he can play, in coverage roles as well. So it's the only pick for me for the Baltimore Ravens.
All sold. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's finish strong. Connor, the New Orleans Saints, your fifth favorite team.
I don't have a Saints sound either to make, I guess, but I think they're going to look to bolster that wide receiver.
They have a lot of sounds. Like, their fan base is really loud. Like, isn't there a guy with a whistle hat? I feel like I've seen, like, he has like a Saints whistle on his head.
Sounds like you're the Saints. It sounds like you're the Saints fan, not me.
Hey, hey, I'm just here to point fingers. All right, Connor. And if you want to win MVP, you'll point them back at yourself. Let's be careful here. But who do you have New Orleans taking?
I think Terrence Marshall makes a lot of sense here out of LSU. They have Michael Thomas, and they've been trying to find that next dude to play receiver for him. Emmanuel Sanders was there for a brief stint. They've moved some of these, kind of twitchy players around as slot guys, but they haven't found like a legit wide receiver number two. I know Traquan Smith out of UCF's been there for a while too. So Terrace Marshall will give them a legit wide receiver two on the outside, a guy who can move in and play some slot too. He did that at LSU. Another really athletic dude who really shined this year with Jamar Chase sidelined with an opt-out. So I think he makes a ton of sense because he's a good route runner. He could stretch the field vertically, kind of like a similar style of player to Jamar Chase, just different in some aspects of their game. But I think that he's kind of that, not quite tier one guy, tier two guy with great athleticism, ball skills, ball tracking skills, and he can really do a lot of good things in that offense if they can get some quarterback play out of old Jameis.
Cole, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I feel like some fans might want them to go wide receiver. Feels like they've ignored that position for many years. But Alan Lazard came on strong last year alongside Devontae Adams. They need secondary help. Obviously, Kevin King got toasted against the Buccaneers. They need some upgrades there, and have him going with our guy Pito Melifonwu, guy lengthy corner, can match up well in that division. I think he obviously playing in Syracuse. He's used to kind of playing those elements already. I think he'd be an ideal fit for Green Bay.
Okay, Dalton, your last pick on behalf of the Buffalo Bills. What you got? Make it epic.
It's another running back, guys. We're going Travis Etienne.
You've lost. You're out of the running. MVP.
We're getting that speed into the backfield. They already took Devin Singletary a couple of years back, and his whole thing was his ability to make guys miss. And that's what they are going to try to get with Travis Etienne. He was obviously a better receiver in his later years. It's something that he improved on year in and year out. He's still getting a little bit better as a blocker, but having him and Josh Allen brings two legitimate home run type of weapons in the backfield.
That would be fun. I mean, like, I hate it, but it would still be cool.
For sure.
But it's just the way it has to happen is dumb and stupid. Connor, the Kansas City Chiefs, your last pick. You are in the running. This is down to you and Cole because, again, Dalton disqualified himself with 2 running backs in the first round. So you guys are this is your last chance to impress the judges.
They obviously had a lot of offensive linemen leave them this year. They lost the Super Bowl pretty much because their offensive line couldn't play to a standard that would allow the offense to work. So I think Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama makes sense here. I think they could also look at Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame as that left tackle prospect. But Leatherwood offers that inside-out versatility, a guy who can play left tackle, has played some right tackle, can play some guard as well. So he can play all over the offensive line. He is a big lumbering guy. He kind of plays that way too. He has some athleticism to him as well. But he's a big, strong, powerful dude. I think he's kind of gotten lost in the mix. Had probably been picked at more than some of these other guys just because of how deep this offensive tackle class is, but I still like Leatherwood a lot. I think he's going to have again, he's never going to be, I don't think, a Pro Bowler every year, but I think he's a dude who start 10, 12 years in the league, can play games at left tackle, right tackle, guard if you need him to. And I think that versatility and just the high floorness that he offers coming out of Alabama, it makes a lot of sense for Kansas City. They're looking to bolster back their offensive line.
All right, Cole. The first shot has been levied. It's your chance for a rebuttal. Closing arguments. Tampa Bay Buccaneers for back-to-back MVP titles.
A lot of pressure on the line here. Tampa could go in a number of different ways. Obviously, they're returning all 22 starters from that Super Bowl winning team. They could go the sexy route and take a wide receiver. They could go defensive line, maybe add some insurance on the offensive line. They go a number of different routes. Ultimately, have them going to local kid out of Dallas, Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington to play that defensive line. Fit right there. They got Sue, they got Vita Vea. I think he can fit in well on that defensive line and make that defense even stronger as they go for a repeat.
Okay, guys, you did a great job here with the mock draft. Kudos to all of you, really. I mean, if I could give out 3 MVP awards, I would. Let's go backwards. Cole, who was your favorite pick, or what was your favorite pick that Dalton made?
Ooh, Dalton. Based on value, I'll go with Devontae Smith to the Dolphins.
Okay. All right. Connor, what was your favorite pick that Cole made?
Ooh. I'd have to say Jaylen Phillips to Cleveland just because of the value. Not even that they need an edge rusher, but I think when you get a guy like Phillips fall all the way to you at 26, it's just hard to pass that up.
Okay. And Dalton, what was your favorite pick that Connor made? With your mic unmuted, please.
I'm thinking.
This guy.
I'm thinking.
Connor took Patrick Surtain. Again, if you want to put yourself back in the mix here, I mean,
I can't do it. Listen, Justin Fields going to Atlanta is going to be awesome. I can't understate that. I think it's going to be incredible to watch him because if he does end up somehow getting drafted there, I don't think it's too long until he ends up on the field, and he's going to be a lot of fun with those weapons, man.
See, I think the best way to summarize how I feel about the idea of Justin Fields in Atlanta is that's the fastest path any player has ever had to the Madden cover. You know what I mean? It would be awesome. That's the best. That's the way my heart feels about it. And not that wouldn't translate to success in the NFL, but it would just be really cool all of the time. And then Atlanta would turn into everybody's favorite Madden team. Okay, if you're watching live with us, obviously if you're watching later or listening to the podcast, you can't do this. But who do you think should win the MVP tonight? Let's see here. Connor, Cole, excuse me. There was a comment that was boosting you up. I'm trying to find it. Maybe it got deleted. Here we go. Joshua Parker.
There we go.
For Cole. It's tough.
I feel like I defended my crown pretty well.
For full perspective,
I didn't take 2 running backs.
That's true. For full perspective, 2 weeks ago, Dalton, the last time we did this exact exercise, Dalton won MVP. Last week when we did full Cowboys mock drafts, you can watch either of those videos on our YouTube channel if you go back in the history. Cole really just had the best overall draft class for the Cowboys. He did a bunch of trades, walked away with Greg Newsome II. So, still a pretty solid first-round pick and a lot of other capital that people really liked. Connor questioned legitimacy of the simulators that Cole used. There was a bit of contentiousness last week. Connor, you haven't really done anything of note the last 2 weeks, if I'm being honest with you. However, you did pull off the Justin Fields pick here. You did also, I love what you did for Jacksonville. And you kept it the most realistic, I think, of everybody, Connor. And more than anything, Connor, last week I gave you the Jaylen Smith Award. And if we as Dallas Cowboys fans know anything, it's that if you're Jaylen Smith, you get boosted up, sometimes for no reason. So tonight's MVP, Connor Livesay from bloggingtheboys.com. Connor, well done. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have anything, anybody you want to thank? Anything to offer us here as we close?
All I know is you guys are a bunch of haters.
You just won MVP. I just gave you the most coveted award.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. And you guys hate on my realistic aspirations for this draft. And it just I go to sleep every night and go, RJ, Cole, and Dalton are just making fun of me because I'm not picking Trevor Lawrence in the 3rd round.
Joe is a big fan of yours. Connor gave you.
That's right, Joe. That's right, Joe. Let's go, baby.
So while you did win MVP, there are awards to be had by everybody. Cole, a solid draft, really, and most specifically, a solid draft for a New York-based team, but really just kind of boring.
The dog needs the MVP. The MVP title to the dog.
The Dave Gettleman Award goes to Cole Patterson and his dog. Just for kind of
should be the Bill Belichick Award, right?
A boring overall, something you're going to try to sell to your fans. Trust me, guys. I know what I'm doing. It is what it is. Your thoughts, Cole, on the Dave Gettleman Award tonight?
Yeah, I was going for back-to-back MVP awards. I'm glad Connor won it. If I had to lose it to somebody, glad it was him, I guess.
Unmute your mic.
Yeah, if he had not unmuted his mic and if he had not drafted 2 running backs in the 1st round, he would have had a better case for that. But I humbly accept my award, and we'll go back. We'll try to get our MVP award back next week.
Okay. Well, we have to round it out. Obviously, Dalton, you did not come up shy in the awards department. Again, nothing is as prestigious as the MVP award. Now, I think, and we'll put the draft back up one more time. Dalton, you walked away with Kyle Pitts and Devontae Smith. I mean, for the Miami Dolphins. I don't think there's any question. South Beach is welcoming you with open arms. Micah Parsons to the Broncos, boring. So to me, it really does feel like a particular portion of the time you were on, right? So you were all about effort, just in specific spurts. You mentioned him earlier. The Xavier Woods Award winner tonight on the Blogging the Boys live stream is Dalton Miller. Congratulations. Do you have anything to say? I mean, anything at all?
Yes, I actually do. I actually turned my mic over so I can see the green or the red light on my mic to tell me if it is muted or unmuted. And you know what? I think I'm just going to go with this from now on and just have this piece of metal in front of my face.
Okay. Well, guys, that was a job well done. Proud of all of you. This was the 3rd week in a row that we live streamed here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Our first on the Blog of the Boys Facebook page. If you missed the live stream, you're catching it later. Make sure you subscribe here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Like our Facebook page. We'll be back next Tuesday, a couple of days ahead of the draft. These guys will give you their final thoughts going into it. If you want, you can listen to this conversation and all of their great conversations on the Blog and the Boys podcast network, available on all major podcast platforms. That's Apple devices, Spotify, wherever else you want to get your podcast. That's up to you. Anybody have any closing thoughts? These are literally the final seconds. Anything on your chest you want to get off, now is the time. Please raise your hand like Dalton did earlier if you have a thought. Connor, you're up.
I'm releasing my draft guide tomorrow, so follow me on Twitter and figure out how to get that so I can feed my family and not live on the street.
Okay, so actually, I'm really happy that Connor brought this up. My bad, Connor. I don't win an award tonight because I didn't boost you. Connor puts together this draft guide. It's a work of art. It's a PDF file, ultimately, right, Connor, that people can access, people can read. How many prospects are in this draft guide?
It's going to be like reports on like 129-ish. I'm trying to finish up the last few today, but there's a bunch of different rankings and final mock drafts, and there's a bunch of different stuff in it. So
we will
you'll learn a lot.
We will definitely reference it and shamelessly use some of Connor's own material on the show next week. Again, check him out on Twitter at Connor NFL Draft to get access to it. Anybody have anything else? Dalton's on Twitch. I don't know if Dalton lives in a 3-dimensional world because he's always on Twitch, always on YouTube. Anything you got, Dalton?
I'm about to pop on Twitch actually and do my top 10 edge rushers of the class. So twitch.tv/Dalton B. Miller.
All right, Cole, anything you want to plug besides love and joy for the world?
Yeah, you can find my work at AtoZSportsDallas.com. And like I said, I'll be coming for that MVP award next week.
All right, the most important week. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next time. These guys love you all. They'll give you all hugs as soon as it is socially acceptable to do so. We'll see you guys. Have a great week.